What is up, guys? Ivan here from getivan.com, and I'd like to welcome you to this overview of my keyword research template for October 19th, 2018. That is the current timestamp for this template. And it is probably not going to change very much from this point on because it's been a long road doing various tests using different metrics. And I've kind of come all the way back to the beginning, circled around to the most simple metrics that are available. So this is just the empty template. We've got a long tail column just indicated by tail so that we can keep the width pretty narrow there. And this is the number of words that are in the keyword cell here. So you can see the formula here that I discovered, and I kind of had to figure out how to make it work for Google Sheets. Someone had a formula like this for Excel, so I adapted it to Google Sheets. And whenever you put a word in here, let's say hot potato, then this has the ability to detect it. See, it says it's two there, so it's two words in there. So if I say red hot potato, then it'll go up to 3, and so on and so forth. So that's a cool thing about Excel and Google Sheets and what have you, is the ability to use formulas and conditional formatting with the data that you put into there. So it's not, I don't know, there's a lot of ways I guess you could describe that, but it's cool, you know. So then you've got this currency column, searches, PPC competition, CPC, all these different things, right? Currency is going to indicate if it's USD or whatever the currency might be for, this is related to the PPC metrics. Normally in the keyword research, I import from Google Ads, as it's now called. I delete this column. I also delete PPC competition, and I delete all of these columns here because it's just a lot of filler information that is specific to PPC, and it's not really, I don't really find it that useful, you know. And I'll just explain these other columns in a moment here. We've got searches. This is the monthly search volume in whatever location you targeted in Google Ads. And it's not necessarily monthly. You can do different time frames, you know, but that's the standard, you know, monthly search volume over a year, over the last year of metrics, excuse me, for whatever location you're targeting. PPC competition represents the number of advertisers in that space. I don't find it very useful because you can still have a high CPC with a low number of advertisers. So you can have a high number of advertisers with a low CPC average. So I don't find it very useful. Then we've got CPC low, CPC high. So CPC stands for cost per click. So this is the average price that someone is paying in that space in general for that keyword, low to high. And when you've got big general keywords, you got to keep in mind that could be a lot more broad than you realize. So you've always got to test things before you kind of dive in. This is just kind of a proverbial, just a glance, you know, at that space. Impression share, organic impression share, organic average position, in account. These all have to do with PPC types of things, and I don't really need to cover those because I'm not really concerned with those. So you can just do a Google search on those. S12M, this stands for search volume 12 months ago, search volume 11 months ago, 10 months ago, 9 months ago, etc. And so you can kind of see over time how fluctuations have occurred. I don't include this because I think the average is more important. You know, you're going to have some keywords that come in that are seasonal, but That's just up to your discernment, right? I don't want to include this because it takes up too much room in the sheet. So I include it in the template because when it's necessary for importing the data, because when you import the data, this data comes with it. But after all the data is imported, I delete all of these rows or all of these columns, and I delete these columns, and I delete this column because I just don't find that data very useful. Okay. Now these columns over here, these are all by my design, right? So money is it used to be called, someone called it something else, became popularized under that term. It might be KOI, I don't remember. But it's basically just multiplying search volume times CPC up here. And this is when you delete all the necessary columns, then these are the columns these are the values for the columns that are associated with search volume and the high end of the CPC spectrum. So it's just multiplying the number of searches times the average amount of money per click. So it's basically saying if you were to get every person to click on your ad, this is how much money you might spend. So it's an idea of how much money might be in a keyword in totality, right? Of course, it's just a sort of at a glance sort of thing. So keep that in mind. And then there's a lot of keywords that don't have CPC because there's not enough advertisers there or whatever. So when you go to do a PPC ad in a keyword like that, then Google's going to put it in a sandbox and determine what they feel that keyword is worth. So just keep that in mind too. Just because that something doesn't have CPC and it doesn't have this money correlation doesn't mean that there's no money there, right? Or there's no one that's competing in that area, that space, right, for that keyword. Then we've got LTS. This is just an acronym that I came up with. It stands for long tail searches. So this is a correlation between the long tail column, so the number of words in the key phrase, the keyword, and then the number of searches being conducted. And this, to me, like after all the things that I've tried, different keyword research tools, page results, and different correlations involving that, I've come down to just looking at long tail, these three things basically: the potential amount of money, the number of the long tail quality of a phrase, like the number of words, and then the number of searches in the keyword, because I found that they correlate. And I kind of started on this. Let me blow this up for a second while I briefly explain this. Because I did a minor case study with KW Finder, for example, who bases their metrics off of Moz. And I correlated the KW Finder competition metrics with, I believe it was page results. And I found that as you went down by certain increments, that they actually correlated. So there was a direct correlation between page results and KW Finder's metrics, which are based on Moz. And I also found that there was a direct correlation in terms of page results in KEI, which is an old metric where they're dividing the number of searches by the number of page results. And so that's another way of looking at competition. So there's correlations there. And so all these different ways of looking at the metrics, like they kind of accentuate things differently, but when you look at them in terms of averages, they in large correlate with one another. And I'm not sure about specific services. If you're looking at very specific, more expensive keyword research tools and things like that, I can't speak to everything out there. But to my knowledge, it's all based on very similar core metrics. What's available from Google, and then having their own spiders being able to crawl sites and see, try to interpret link metrics and values and things like that. And it's ironic that for all their efforts, that at least for some of the major players out there, that they're still correlating with the biggest, or the things that Google provides, and that's why I'm coming down to search volume and the long tail quality and then the CPC, just using those metrics because I found that they connect, and it's a lot easier, more cost effective, and more cost effective to use those root metrics. And I've noticed as I blog and I do a lot more content marketing, I'm more interested in the obscure. I'm more interested in the long tail opportunities because those very specific questions seem to be a lot easier to gain ground on, And so that's just a brief explanation of why I've decided to switch my focus on metrics once again, and why it will probably not change or change very little in the future because, it's kind of the bottom of the barrel there in terms of search and CPC and the long tail quality. And so that's this equation up here is a division of the long tail quality of the word, so the number of words in that phrase, and in the search volume. And so at the high end, you'll see, you should see, if I did it right, you should see the higher number of words with higher search volume. At the low end, you should see a higher number of words with lower search volume. And so it's always an emphasis on we want the highest number of words possible in our keyword, in whatever we're sorting by. At least that's kind of what I'm going for. So then moving on here, we've got MLTS, which is, of course, money LTS. So this is a correlation of the potential money versus the long tail search quality, the LTS variable there. So this is multiplying money times LTS. And so the goal is to see what of those LTS variables, what has the most money in it. So then you're looking at, depending on how you sort, you're looking at what has the most words with, say, for example, the least number of searches, but the most amount of potential money. And so these are three different sort of competitive insights in terms of, and when I'm doing SEO and content marketing, like, how do I make a decision in terms of what I want to go for, and so you can sort by these three columns here and make your decision that way. Then we've got keyword density, and so there's an equation here, and I'm pretty sure it adjusts properly, but there's a lot of different columns that are listed in here. Very simple though. What this is designed to do is, as you add numbers to the articles here indicating the keywords that you are using for your articles, this column is designed to count the total number of times that a specific key phrase is being used. So the purpose of that, as you can see over here in the article section, is whenever you decide, hey, I want to use this keyword, and this keyword, then you put a 0 here, here, and here, for example, and that will indicate, it's loading here, that'll indicate that you've assigned that keyword to be used for that article, right? Once that keyword has been used, it's taking forever to conditionally format. There it goes. It'll turn this teal color. Once that keyword has actually been used in your strategy, then you can go back and you can put a 1 here where those keywords are, and that'll turn green, indicating that it's been used. And then over here in this keyword density column, it'll update to the total number of times across this row for that particular keyword that keyword has been used in an article in general. So I know that might be a little confusing because I'm talking a lot here trying to explain it, but the purpose is that we are using these areas here to keep track of the keywords we're using in an article, and to assign the keywords we want used in an article for writers who might be looking at this keyword research file. And then over here in the density section, it's keeping track of the total number of times that keyword has been used for this entire project. So it's a really useful column, because then you can see the total density of a term across your entire website. So you can see, okay, we've written a lot of articles about hot air balloons or whatever, so maybe we need to chill on hot air balloons, and we need to go over to flying dirigibles or some, other, keyword that's related, and focus, on different types of diversification, rather than, hey, we're just talking about the same thing over and over, and it's just, whatever. So in terms of the article structuring here, you replace, I put the formula here under the help tab. So anytime you forget any of this information, you can just come to the help tab and grab the equations if you accidentally make a mistake, or you get some definitions for what things are. There's going to be some video links in here, and links to other helpful things. I'm probably going to put a link here to, if you like this video and you appreciate this template and this information, then I think I'll put some links to some review sites for my business, so you can write me a good review, and I'd really appreciate that. And then over here on the far right, you can come over to the article section, and you can see, here's what each row is meant to be. You can see row number 1, you can replace the header there with the title of your article. Then the second row is for a link to like a Google Drive location. So what I like to do right now is I like to have the article written somewhere, or maybe inside of the Google Drive document, and then save it in a Google Drive document, and then put a link to that document right here, so that whoever's doing distribution can access it quickly and easily. So that's what I like to do. And then also, so we can quickly access it, so we can see if it's been done or whatever too. So that goes there immediately. And then also, if you're monitoring the work, you can see if work is being done. So it's really useful. Then this one here is for the style of the article. So you can say, I want this to be a blog post. I want this to be creative. I want this to be content curation. I want this to be a static post. I want this to be whatever. You can indicate those instructions right here in this cell. And then this undistributed can be switched to distributed and colored green here once it's actually been distributed onto the site. And then the final column here is for indicating who you want to assign it to. So I put the name of a VA or in the name of a manager there when I want to assign somebody to do this or that. So basically, I'll come in here, I'll fill these details out as much as I can, right? And then I'll indicate zeros on the articles that I actually want, or on the keywords I want included in the article. And then I'll put the person's name there, and I'll go and notify them in some way to check the document for assignments or whatever. So this has been developed over doing this stuff and finding, hey, there's a necessity for this, there's a necessity for that, etc. And really just kind of trying to simplify that whole process. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. All you have to do is import your Google Ads, CSV file into, you basically click on this cell right here, and then you just come in here to insert, file, import, and you can insert from, let me see here. Once you upload it, it'll give you an option in terms of how you want to import, and you just want to insert from the cell selected, and then boom, it'll populate. It might take some time. If you go over 10,000 keywords, it's going to be pretty laggy, so you usually only want to collect no more than several seeds. You can do 10 seeds because every seed is roughly 700 keywords on average. So maybe somewhere around 10 seeds, and then you import the whole thing into this. And then you can use a tool like an add-on like Power Tools. I think may have some remove duplicates by AbleBits, and there may be some other ones that do data scrubbing to scrub duplicates. And there's another way to do it too. You can also scrub duplicates through Scrapebox, maybe not keyword files. There's other ways to scrub for duplicates, but I use that AbleBits remove duplicate tool. It's real easy, and then it'll delete the duplicate keyword entries, and then from there you can delete these extraneous columns, and then your data is basically ready to go, and you can start assigning. The cool thing about this template is you can create 100 articles, and assign them keywords in the template before the articles are even written. And then you can have someone come in and just get that whole plan, and you don't really have to manage it as much. Like anytime you need something to be done, like you can just tell someone, go in, and the articles could be finished basically, and you'll be able to tell what's finished by whatever has the ones there. And then you could have someone come in, and you could tell another person to distribute the articles, and then they can mark them as distributed. So you have control over the whole process. You can have someone go and create a plan. You can have someone go in and do the writing, and then you can have someone go in and distribute. And the template is so simple but so powerful. And so I'm really excited about sharing this with people. I've thought about trying to sell it, and I've included it in consultations and things like that. But the thing is, since it's in Google Sheets and it's easy to duplicate and access, I just figured, I should just give this away, and just, and then if people need services, then they can, contact me or whatever. So if you appreciate this, if you see the value, please check out the help tab in the keyword research file, and go give me a review on Google Maps or Facebook reviews or whatever I'm listing there. And I'd really appreciate that, guys. So that's pretty much it. I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you later. Thanks. Bye-bye.